Hey guys, what's up? It's JamieBot. Today we're going to be building an application which can upload images to Firebase and download them and display them on the front end, as you can see right here. Alright, so this application is going to use Angular material and it's going to use Angular Fire 2. So if you haven't seen my video on Angular Fire 2, be sure to check that out and then you'll have a good starting place for this project. Alright, so what I've done is I've actually built this custom application, which is like the minimal amount of code you need to demonstrate this upload to Firebase sort of thing. So I've built this little project and then I'm just going to go through and explain it. There are a lot of bugs that you can run into when coding something like this, so feel free to just copy this code. I wrote it beforehand because we would run into a lot of bugs when writing this. Okay, so basically in the HTML file, I'll pull up this example again. This top part right here, that's the input. So we have an input of type file, and then it accepts all image types. Okay, so when you click choose image here, it allows you to upload any JPG or like PNG, anything like that. Okay, and then when this input has changed, it'll fire a change event, and that will trigger a function in our TypeScript called image_changed. Okay, and we'll pass it the event that triggered it. Okay, and then the next thing we have is this button down here, and then that's just going to submit the image. So the way it works is you click one of these guys, you click an image, and then you press open, and then you scroll down, make sure there are no errors. There's actually an error that displays right here, I believe, if it's too big or something like that. And then you click submit, and then it'll upload the image, and then as soon as it's finished, it'll actually remove the image from the preview. I should really make it just refresh that one, but right now you have to refresh, and then you'll see all of the new images. So this new one that was uploaded, we'll see its ID and we'll see the image. Okay? Alright, so first let's have a look at these first three parts. So we have an input, a button, and an image. So this image is tagged with my image, and the source is set to be empty right now, or hash. Also inside of the module file, I've imported all of these Angular Fire modules, as well as some modules like the mat button module and the mat card module from Angular material. Alright, and one key thing to note is that the storage bucket is now set, whereas in my tutorial on Angular Fire 2 setup, this was not set, but make sure that this is set up. In order to do that, the first thing you gotta do is go inside the storage tab in your Firebase setup and make sure you click the get started or whatever button it has here before it shows you this table. Also inside of the rules here, for testing at least, make sure you set the rules to allow read and write for everybody. And this is of course not secure, but this is just a test app, so I don't really care what happens to this app. If you're building production you care about, you'll definitely want to look into how these rules work. Let me know if you guys are interested in a video about that, but these rules are really important for allowing only certain people, for instance people that are logged in, or like only people in a certain group of users, like maybe everyone that's your friend can view it or something like that. This is where that sort of logic would go. The other thing you got to do is go to project settings, click on this add Firebase to your app, and then grab all these values and then stick them right here in this config thing. Alright, now let's have a look at the app component TS, and this is where all the main logic is going to go. So first off, at the top I've imported Angular Fire Store and Angular Fire Storage. So storage is for the images and Firestore is for the documents. Alright, so the first thing that relates to our HTML is that we have that view child for my image, and that's just declared as selecting on the my image indicator with a hashtag. So that's this right here, so we mark this with my image, and now we have a reference to it here inside of the TypeScript. Okay, next on the image changed event, again that's this guy right here, this is the input, so when that changes, first I check to see if there aren't any files that were chosen, which I'm not sure how that's possible, but just in case that happens, I set this.image to null and I return. So nothing is going to happen if you didn't upload any images. Okay, next we need to extract some data from the event. So we do that by creating a file reader. So I call that reader equals new file reader. So we make this new file reader and we assign this.image to be event.target.files sub 0. Okay, so it only allows us to upload one image at a time, so we can just grab the file at index 0 and that's guaranteed to be the image that we chose. Alright, and then we say when the reader loads the data that we tell it to read, which is going to be again that same file, then we're going to grab that image, this is the preview image, and then we're going to reach inside and set its source to be the data from the thing that we're reading. So this is just syntax that you'll have to memorize if you ever want to do this again, but basically this is the data that we can assign to the source element. Okay? Alright, and then next we do a little bit of checking. So I grab the size and then convert it into megabytes, and then I check to see if it's greater than 2 megabytes, then I set upload error to be this file is too large, the max is 2 megabytes, and then if it's not too large, then I just set the upload error to be empty. So that way, if you upload a too large one and then you change it to be a regular size one, the error will be cleared. And the error is displayed right here. It just grabs the upload error text, but only if upload error exists, and it has a class called error on it. And then in the CSS, I style the error with color red. Oh, and also I'm marking all of the images as having a width of 256 pixels, just so that they're not like overwhelmingly big and taking up the whole page. Alright, so the next thing that we should look at is this submit function. So in our little button, matte button, which I'm actually going to change this to be a matte raised button so it looks a little nicer. So when you click submit, that's going to get the current date in UTC time, and then it's going to add an object with only the timestamp, which we saw earlier inside of our database. So basically it just adds an object with a timestamp right there. But as soon as it does that, it returns to us a docref, which this docref has an ID. So we can use that ID to upload to the storage with a parallel path. So it's again posts slash that ID. So there's the storage path, which is Angular Fire Storage, and then there's the document path, which is Angular Firestore. They're similar, guys, but try and keep them straight. It's important. The top one is Angular Fire Store, which is for documents, and the bottom one is Angular Fire Storage, which is for files and blobs and like images and stuff. Okay, so basically we upload this.image, which was set earlier up here when the image change got called, and then as soon as it uploads that image, we're going to remove the preview because we no longer need it, so we set it back to hash. And then finally, if there was an error during any of that, we're just going to console log it. Okay, so that's the first part of it. That's uploading to Firestore and Firebase Storage in unison, parallel paths. And now we need to listen to and download those images. Alright, so in order to download the images and get a list of all the images that we have, in the constructor, I'm just listening to all posts. Okay, so whenever the snapshot of a post changes, we're going to have this event fired. And there are two possibilities that could have gone here. There's snapshot changes and there's value changes. You want snapshot changes because that'll give us the ID, and we need the ID so that we can look up the image path. So it's very important to use snapshot changes here. Okay, and then when the subscription event happens, like when there's a change, when something new is uploaded, for instance, we're going to get this object called next, which is going to be an iterable list of objects which represent our post objects. And since we want the IDs included, what I've done is take any data that's in that object, which would be like the timestamp. So I've assigned that to be object, and then I set the object ID to be the ID of the post. So now we have the ID. That's really important. So we have the ID for all of the posts, and then we push them into this array called posts, which is reinitialized here every time there's a change. So every time there's a change, it's going to clear it out and then give us a bunch of posts, all with IDs and timestamps. Okay, now as soon as we have the ID for a post, I call another function called loadImage. And what loadImage does is it takes the ID and then it grabs a reference to posts slash whatever that ID was, and then basically grabs the download URL and then stores that in an images object. Okay, and then the key in that object is just going to be the post ID. So inside the HTML, we have an array of posts, and we have a card for every post. So let post of post, that'll just go over every post, and inside of there we'll put the ID, and then we'll grab images sub post ID. Okay, so remember the post has an ID in it, and then images has a key of whatever that post ID is pointing to the download URL. So we just grab that, pipe it through async, which is going to allow it to load over the network basically. Like, it's a link and it needs to load this over time, so it's important to use async here, otherwise it won't work. And yeah, so with that little bit of code, guys, we have our very own uploading to Firebase Storage and downloading and displaying the results in Angular material. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. Hopefully I did a good job explaining it. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. And let me know if you like this sort of video, if you'd like to see more videos like this with back-end as opposed to just primarily front-end. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.